Hi, this video is part of my complete Helm course. The link is in the description of this video, so make sure to give a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any updates, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's get started. Let's now spend a few minutes to understand the contents of a Helm chart. As we have already discussed, Helm charts are really a set of files and directories that are then packaged by Helm into versioned charts. But let's now spend a few minutes to discuss the specifics of each file or directory inside of a Helm chart. More detailed overview of all the files that can be included in a Helm chart. Not all of them are required, but you will often find these files in more complex or advanced or mature charts. So let's go through all of them so that you understand here what each one is doing. So let's begin with the chart and values.yaml file. And the chart.yaml is really an important file. It is mandatory and it contains metadata about the chart. So among other fields, it allows us to set the API version, either v1 or v2. We will work primarily with v2. The name of the chart, the version of the chart, and this here, the version of the chart and the version of the application, they are different itself things. And the version of the chart here, Helm is really vocal about using semantic versioning. So this is something that you should always follow. While the application version here might not follow semantic versioning, there is no convention here that Helm enforces. So it's just important for us to keep in mind that the version of the chart is represented by the version option here, and the version of the underlying application is represented by the app version. The description here provides a brief description of what the chart is doing. The type can be set to either application or library. Keywords here is also useful whenever we want to capture a couple of keywords that are representative of the project, and they're also considered whenever we do search operations with Helm. We can also use the dependencies key to specify a list of other charts that the current chart depends on. So let's say that you are deploying an application, backend application that requires a database, but you don't really want to write all the Kubernetes manifests and configuration for the database yourself. So you might include, let's say, a MongoDB or a Postgres or a MySQL chart dependency here. And then this would in turn also install the dependency charts whenever we are installing our own chart here. We also have the values.yaml file, and we already discussed what this does. Basically, it contains the default configuration values for the chart. So it's recommended to leverage the values.yaml file as much as possible to avoid hard coding configuration into the chart, and also to give the chart users the possibility of customizing their own configuration. We then have the README file, which provides a human-readable documentation that should contain a high-level description of the application that the chart provides, as well as prerequisites, requirements, and any setup needed to run the chart, descriptions of options in the values.yaml file, as well as their default values, and any other information that is relevant for the installation, configuration, or upgrade. You will find that the README of many common, well-maintained charts is huge, and it has a very extensive documentation of its functionality. So it's not only a great place for us to go whenever we need to look for information about the behavior of a certain chart, but also great inspiration of how we can actually create great READMEs ourselves. We then have the license file, which is a plain text file containing the license for the chart, as well as any chart applications if relevant, and the .helm ignore file that we can use to ignore certain paths or files when packaging the chart. So basically, this here, the files that are mentioned under this .helm ignore file here, they will not be included in the packaged archive file created by Helm when packaging the chart. We then have the charts directory here, and this contains any chart dependencies, which are also called subcharts. These dependencies, they should be informed in the chart.yaml file, and they will be downloaded and saved locally whenever we run the respective Helm commands. We then have the templates directory, and this is where the core, like the bulk of the chart functionality is. So it contains multiple files that are relevant for Helm projects, including the multiple Kubernetes manifest templates that are rendered by Helm. So you can see here we have the tests directory inside of the templates directory, and this contains tests to be executed when running the Helm test command. So after we install a release in a cluster, we can run Helm test and then pass the release name here. and any tests that are included in this directory will be run by Helm. We then also have the notes.txt file. Basically, the contents of this file here, they are printed on the screen upon successful chart installation or upgrade. And if you remember from previous lectures, whenever we installed the WordPress chart, we got some notes on the screen. It was just basically printing the contents of this file here. You will also normally find an _helpers.tpl file or multiple TPL file preceded with an underscore here, and they contain template helper functions which can be used to reduce duplication. The files that are preceded with an underscore, that's the key here, they are not included in the final rendering from Helm. Later on we will see how the Helm template command can be used to generate the Kubernetes manifests, and we will also see that whenever we have an underscore here in front of the file, then the contents of that file, they are assumed not to be Kubernetes manifests, and they are not included in the final result of the Helm template command. Alright, there was a lot of information here regarding the role of each individual file in our Helm charts. We're going to once again slowly progress through that, not only in this section, but also in the upcoming sections. So when we talk about chart dependencies, we're going to have a closer look at the charts directory. Or when we talk about Helm tests, we're going to have a closer look at the tests directory. The goal of this lecture here is really to introduce you to the overall structure of the charts, as well as the main components you might come across when either building your own charts or inspecting already published Helm charts. But for now, I believe that we have a pretty good overview of what we can find in Helm charts. Let's then take a short break and come back in the next lecture to continue with our discussion.